it actually boggles my mind that unironically Democrats would join in on this. Like the fact that they would also take on the mantle and try to hit that same angle. Me, dude. Also, Governor Kathy Hochul says she's not ready to endorse Zohran Mamdani for mayor. Still has questions about his policy ideas and difference in opinion. Adds she still needs to work with New York City mayor. Still a no on taxing the rich. Adds Mamdani's win on affordability is good for her next year. Now, what's really interesting about Kathy Hochul is that she fought against congestion pricing tooth and nail until it was implemented. And then she was like, look how awesome it is that I did congestion pricing, because it was a spectacular victory for New York. And she literally fought against it every step of the way until it was implemented. And then it was a major success. And then she took it over and was like, look how good I did. It's crazy. I hope that she will recognize that there is a lot of momentum here and broad popularity for Zohran Mamdani. And she will be forced to concede and forced to work with him. Because remember, New York mayor is a major responsibility. You are, this is the largest city in the United States of America. It is a finance capital. There's so much commerce that happens here. It is massively, massively populous, massively populated. And not only that, but unlike other mayoral positions in other big cities, the New York City mayor does have some unilateral power, like has the power to make decisions that can instantly change people's lives for better or for worse. I wouldn't even say this about Chicago, for example. There are still powerful forces within New York that clearly make that job as difficult as possible. The Sergeant Benevolence Association, like the police union broadly, the NYPD in and of itself is a major force that you have to reckon with when you are the mayor. But as the mayor, you have tremendous power, okay? You also still have outside pressure from, Wall Street, real estate groups, things of that nature. And then you have to deal with Albany, the governor, Kathy Hochul.
Will you support his candidacy and will you back him?
The election just completed. I had a chance to call and congratulate him on the Tuesday's primary and look forward to having conversation. Obviously, there's areas of difference in our positions, but I also think we need to have those conversations. But in the meantime, I truly am not focused on the politics. We're 6 months away from Inauguration Day, and that'll determine who I'm working with for the next 4 years. And that's important because what I'm doing, I'm focusing on affordability and making New York City safe and making the state safe. So that's my primary objective right now.
So are you skeptical then of him and then also the will of New York City voters, New York Democratic primary?
Are you skeptical of democracy? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. These guys hate, and I mean, these guys hate democracy. Okay.
Voters, do you think that their choice is not valid?
No, I don't see how you can possibly conclude that from what I just said. I said that I'm going to be having conversations. I want to find out, positions on specific issues. But in the meantime, I'm working closely with Mayor Eric Adams, who is the mayor, who we have a lot of work to do to get through, a crisis right now. We just had a lot of.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Eric Adams is dead in the water. You know it. Everyone knows it. The only reason why you're taking this angle is because you got the boss call, and there is worry within the Democratic Party for Zohran, and they literally they're entertaining a potential Eric Adams candidacy in the general with the hopes that they could actually stop Zohran. Oh my God, this is exactly what I was worried about. This is exactly what I said could potentially happen. It gave me a little bit of confidence when I saw the DNC posting about Zohran and congratulating Zohran. And I was like, oh, thank God. Maybe they will actually back him unconditionally. That's a good thing. Why are you always mad? I don't know, man, because I want what's right by the American public. And I'm watching. Do you not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Like I'm watching democracy run its course, and then leadership basically doing everything they can to signal that they don't like democracy all that much. They're going to do everything they can to just like go against the wishes of the public here. Yeah, I wasn't mad when Zohran won. Vote blue no matter who, Democrats, showing that maybe they don't want to vote blue no matter who, actually. They'd much rather vote independent. It's a deeply frustrating situation. Why are you surprised? I'm not. Stop. I'm not. But I want to hold out hope that it will allow a progressive wave and this progressive momentum to, breathe life back into the party. I hope that there are some Democrats out there in positions of power within the party that will at the very least allow this kind of thing to take over, seemingly as AOC has been able to win a lot of power and influence within the ranks of the party too. Point is, if you're a leftist and you're outside of the realm of like normal politics, you always have an uphill battle. I know that, okay? I know that. It is always going to be an endless struggle. You have to become undeniable. You have to become undeniable. You have to become a force that they have to reckon with. That's just the way. You can't win with the normal, comfortable Democratic machine backing you every step of the way. Zohran did that in the primary, and I thought this would cause the Democratic machine to back him. I'm worried now that they might not.
People in our city, under siege with, excessive temperatures. We have to keep making sure our subways are safe, building more housing under City of Yes, which we are able to get over the finish line. So as much as there's a lot of people, perhaps even in this room, who are very focused on the politics, I don't have the luxury to do that. I focus on governing and delivering for New Yorkers and working with the people that are in government today.
Governor, will you continue? Oops, let me hit record for a second. Will you continue your?
I don't expect the debt machine to back him at all. Just reroute funds to someone else. I think some will. Some will, but we'll see. Speaking of sociopaths, here is Kirsten Gillibrand saying some incredibly racist nonsense on the Brian Layler show. Brian Layler says Zohran does not support violent jihad. Let's hear what Kirsten Gillibrand, New York senator, had to say.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call and question. I wanted to ask two very pertinent questions about the threats facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zohran Mamdani. There was a bill that I was reading about that, unfortunately, he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magan David Adam, which is like the Jewish Red Cross. So how do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his revisionist Holocaust knowledge, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats? He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
Gabe, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know. I can't fact check everything in real time. But do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt the synagogues? I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to shrink from information that's true.
Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor.
Please fact check in real time. Are you kidding me? What can I fact check? This is just like bile. This is the type of statement you're asking me to fact check. David Duke talking about Jews. Okay, this is straightforwardly the most transparent neo-Nazi ass sentiment. I'll give you one fact check that's important though. So this person is asking, there was a bill that I was reading about that unfortunately he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical, right? That's bull. That question is bull. There is no targeting of Jewish institutions. There is, however, some conversations about institutions that, religious or not, illegally engage in land sales on occupied territory in the West Bank. That's it. Institutions that support illegal land sales on illegally occupied territory in the West Bank might lose their funding.
That was beheaded.
Look,
my heart broke as I saw a man hold up a child that was beheaded by the Israeli military's bombing of a tent city of Palestinian refugees. My heart broke as I saw bodies burned to a crisp, taking refuge in the place that the Israeli military had designated as a safe zone. And I asked myself, what does this have to do with us in New York? And the answer is everything. We do not have the luxury of feeling hopeless or helpless because we have the responsibility of action. Action because in this moment, New York state law allows for New Yorkers to get a tax deduction if they donate to the very kind of Israeli military units that dropped those bombs on innocent Palestinians. Today, we gather here to demand the bare minimum, which is to end tax breaks for genocide.
yeah, that's it. If you're an institution that's like running fundraisers for the Israeli occupying force, or if you're an institution, whether you're a synagogue or a Jewish advocacy group or not, doesn't matter. If you are using that institution to sell homes and sell land in the occupied West Bank directly against existing American law, directly against existing international law, if you're a church or a synagogue, doesn't matter, or a mosque, really. If you're any religious institution that is using, or any institution, any 501c3, you will no longer get tax breaks. It is illegal to do this. It is illegal to do this. And yet these guys are fundraising for West Bank settlers to be armed. They are fundraising for pogroms. They are fundraising for land grabs and illegal land theft and illegal land sales. Of course they're not allowed to do that. Suck my Are you out of your mind? They should be in prison. In a just world, they would go to jail, okay? Not lose their tax break status. Not lose their 501c3 status. They would go to jail. You should go to jail, okay? You should be in prison. Here's a more on-point video from Zohran.
Is Zohran Mamdani. I'm the assembly member for the 36th district in Northwest Queens, and I introduced this legislation which is titled Not on Our Dime. And this is legislation that is saying that New York State will no longer subsidize the aiding and abetting of Israeli settlements. And what that means is that right now in New York State, we have organizations masquerading as charities sending tax-free money to the tune of more than $60 million a year to help maintain and expand settlements in Israel. And we know that settlements are illegal under international law. And so what we're saying is, if we know under the Geneva Convention this is illegal, if we know that under U.S. foreign policy we're opposed to settlement expansion and annexation, then why is New York State allowing this to happen on our dime? So what we are doing with this legislation is bringing our state in line with its values. And we're saying no longer are we going to allow war crimes to be financed tax-free through New York State. We're going to end that complicity, and we're going to stand for human rights for Palestinians.
Who would have issue with this? Who would take issue with this? Go ahead. Argue on the actual issues. Don't make up stuff. Okay? But you can't. People cannot. Here's the problem. You can't actually argue on the real reasons as to why this was a piece of legislation that was advanced. You can't argue about like how you do have a right to steal land and fund the initiatives that actually do pogroms. You have a right to fund the Jewish KKK West Bank. Can you imagine being like, no, you don't understand. I think that Like it literally turns into the meme. Like, sorry, this is my promised land. I have to take it. And you have to give me tax breaks when I fundraise for these initiatives. Like, that's insane. Everyone would look at you like you're out of your mind. What do you mean? So that's what this first conversation was about. How do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions?
Our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world. And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his...
Yeah, okay. First of all, the first Intifada was fought with stones, and a ton more Palestinians were killed. A massive number of Palestinians were deliberately, gravely wounded, okay, by design. The second Intifada was more violent, and yet, obviously, the asymmetry of casualties did not favor the Palestinian side in that one either, okay?
His revisionist Holocaust knowledge to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats. He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
He compared when Jews were killed, when Jews fought back against Nazis. Quite despicable. I'm sorry. Why? Why is that despicable? Do you just think that you're a special class of person? Do you think that it's different? It is the same. Warsaw Ghetto Intifada, which is just the Arabic translation, is certainly comparable to people breaking out of the open air prison that Israel has designed for them. The only reason why you don't want this one-to-one comparison is because this time you're advocating for the Nazis in that equation. That's it. This time it's different because I like Nazis this time. Sorry. The first Intifada was not nonviolent. The first Intifada was immensely violent, but for the Palestinians. The second Intifada also was violent for the Palestinians.
Gabe, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know. I can't fact check everything in real time. But do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt?
I do. I already explained the context, just so you know. Now you know what the context is. The Not on Our Dime bill is about revoking the 501c3 status of institutions, groups, okay, philanthropic organizations that fundraise for the Israeli occupying force, that fundraise for West Bank settlement operations, that actually engage in illegal land theft and also illegal land sales of occupied Palestinian territory. This is a direct violation of international human rights. This is a direct violation this is a direct violation of our rights. Like, in America, this is illegal, okay? This is illegal. I don't give a that it's like a synagogue that's doing it. It's still illegal. What do you mean? Unless you think that there is a special status for Jews, and I don't, okay? Unless you think that there is a special status where Jewish advocacy groups and Jewish places of worship can do this, like, overwhelmingly, transparently illegal thing, it's a crime. They should be going to jail, okay? People that are doing this should be going to jail. So to complain about getting your 501c3 status being revoked in this process when you're doing something like that is directly illegal is insane to me. You should be excited at the prospect of not having to see the inside of a jail cell for doing something that is transparently illegal. Enforce the law. What is this nonsensical position? Enforce the law? Sorry, you can't do that. I'm Jewish and I'm doing it inside of a synagogue is a ridiculous argument to make.
The synagogues, I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to shrink from information that's true.
Well,
yeah, if Hamas did something similar for Hamas or Hezbollah, they would be immediately sent to Guantanamo. And ironically enough, despite the designation of Hamas being a terrorist organization in the United States of America, okay, despite that designation, it does have a legal right to defend the Gaza Strip. Under international law, Israel does not have a legal right to steal land in the West Bank in occupied Palestinian territory. What Israel is doing is illegal. An investigation by the Israeli newspaper Haaretz found that settlements received $220 million in total from American charities from 2009 to 2013. Americans have donated millions more to settlements, settler militias, and Israeli military units in the Palestinian territory since October 7. Through a platform called Israel Gives, according to The Guardian. Can you imagine this kind of nonsense, dude? I cannot. I just like, it's so insane. It's so insane. About 200 Israelis were killed in the first intifada, roughly 80 civilians. In Gaza alone, during the first year of on the intifada, 0 Israelis civilians were killed, while the IDF has shot and killed over 200 Palestinians.
The caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad.
You racist piece of racist monster.
This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York.
How is this any different than like what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, by the way? Like, this is Charlie Kirk. Am I listening to Charlie Kirk, or am I listening to a supposedly progressive Democratic senator from New York? It's Marjorie Taylor Greene with a New York accent, basically.
As our mayor.
Disgusting.
Would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things.
Yeah, I wonder why she cares deeply about this fake nonsense. Oh, that's right, because she received almost $1 million from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. AIPAC, DMFI, and NORPAC. Just came across a quote from Senator Gillibrand in an article on AIPAC funding. I sometimes forget how dumb she is. At a private AIPAC meeting with the lawmakers last January, mega donors were upset that a few Democrat lawmakers weren't as enthusiastic about the wanton slaughter of Gaza as Gillibrand was. This was her attempt to excuse their insubordination. Addressing widespread calls for a ceasefire, Gillibrand conceded that some of the people calling for one are doing so because they want innocent lives to be protected, and then added, but they may not understand that if you call for a ceasefire, you can't get the hostages back. Racist moron. This is the type of person that's leading this goddamn country, dude. This is the type of leadership in the Democratic Party. Also, think about how psychotic this is, that she had a conversation with Zohran Mamdani. She has heard Zohran Mamdani address these things over and over again, and she still had no, like, she didn't even drop a beat before calling him a terrorist that wants to do global jihad, that wants to kill all. Vile, monstrous piece of
things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with.
How do you spell Marjorie Taylor Greene? I always say MTG. No different than the caustic racist bile we hear from MTG. Senator Gillibrand must immediately apologize for her smears claiming Zohran wants a global jihad against Jews.
Him when he gets elected, if he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. I also, on the federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I lead the letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state. And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this is just an issue that I will work.
People are concerned. Get the out of here. Here is writer, editor-in-chief Ariel Angel, editor-in-chief of Jewish Current, says, infuriating. Senator Gillibrand, Jews, in quotes because there's no internal consensus, do not get a monopoly on the meaning of the words that come from the broad history of Palestinian struggle, especially when many understandings are rooted in disinfo, fear-mongering, and ignorance. Senator Gillibrand, your Palestinian-American constituents deserve an apology here. Why aren't their feelings, their identity, their history important to you as your Jewish American, as important to you as your Jewish American constituents? This is an incredibly racist assessment that she made here. I cannot. What is this? I went for a bit. Did you see this? A sitting U.S. congressman, mask off, hood on. Zohran Little Mohammed Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I'm calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. It is wild how little it took for these guys to basically openly turn into monsters, by the way.
Him on, for sure.
I just feel compelled to say, we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting. Can you?
Again, Brian, I don't have all the data and information, and I've never sat down with Mr. Mamdani. So I've asked to have that meeting. I'm going to have that meeting. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada specifically, which has very serious meanings that are violent and destructive. So
which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence because intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that. So I just want to be clear about how at least he defines it. And maybe he needs to be more clear. I don't mean this. I don't mean that. He did say here that he didn't.
He has clarified a million times over. If you don't hear it, it's because you don't want to hear it or you don't like the answer. That's what this is. I'm sick and tired of entertaining the racist notions of dumb Americans, dude. Jesus Christ. There is a level that you have to reach. There is some capitulation that you have to engage in if you want to play ball in a situation like this, okay? If you're a Muslim guy, if you're a Muslim especially, there's so much unchecked, unrestricted Islamophobia, unchecked racism against Muslims. The notion that like every Muslim is a secret jihadi. This piece also posted this with a congressional letterhead. Will a censure come for him? I don't think so. Remember, they censured Rashida Tlaib for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Will they censure Representative Andy Ogles for this? No, of course not. And the Democrats won't push for this either because they're also in the pocket.
I want to be the word police, even as the mayor of New York, if he's elected. But I do also want to be clear that he said he does not support violent intifada. Is that fair?
So, Brian, I didn't hear your exchange with him, but if I was speaking to him directly, I would simply say that is not how the words.
Yeah, the reason why his words are not being perceived that way by you, even though you also apparently talk to him directly, you animal, is because you're racist. That's it. There's nothing he can say other than Am Israel Chai that will be appropriate and acceptable for you. That's it. Sorry, I'm a racist white woman. And I don't even think this is just because she's a racist white woman. I think it's because she's a racist white woman that's gotten $1 million from the Israel lobby. Who is this lady? Kirsten Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand. She's a New York senator.
Are received. And it doesn't matter what meaning you have in your brain. It is not how the word is received. And when you use a word like intifada.
Shut up. You, dude. You. Who are you? Oh, if you use a word like intifada to many Jewish Americans. You're not even Jewish, by the way. What the fuck are we doing? People who defend Israel literally unironically think they're more Jewish than Jewish people, okay? Sounds like an irrelevant person. You think a New York Democratic Party senator is irrelevant? Are you insane? Unfortunately, she is not. As much as I wish she was, she is not irrelevant.
Fada. To many Jewish Americans and Jewish New Yorkers, that means you are permissive for violence against Jews. It is a serious word. It is a word that has deep meaning. It has been used for wars across time and violence and destruction and slaughter and murder against the Jews. It is a harmful, hurtful, inappropriate word for anyone who wants to represent a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people. And I would be very specific in these words, and I would say you may not use them again if you expect.
She does sound like Candace Owens, by the way. Yes. Now I understand why you guys were saying she sounds like Candace Owens. I thought you guys were saying like her words make it seem like because she's so racist, but you actually meant like she literally sounds like Candace Owens, like her voice. And yes, I hear it too.
To represent everyone ever again because they are received as hateful and divisive and harmful. And that's it. So I appreciate that he told you he didn't mean that, and that's great. That's
and
a great place to start.
Also,
but I still don't trust him. I still don't trust him. He's Muslim, Brian. He's Muslim. Zohran is the first leftist I've ever actually seen use dog whistles so well for the left that he makes all the centrists mauled. I know. It's cool that Zohran is uncompromising in this position, okay? That's what's making people lose their minds. It's not just the dog whistles that he uses, or it's not like using liberal values, even though he's a socialist. Like, there are alignments here with at least the theoretical values that liberals are supposed to abide by. that socialists do genuinely abide by, right? I have even heard anti-Zionist, non-Zionist Jews say it makes them fearful because of an association they think about with the violent resistance against Western Jews. I think it's bullshit, but it's a more common fear than I thought. How can you convince people to get over that /Jen? It's coming from hysteria. There is not too much you could do. It's the same bullshit around policing language with from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's the same exact shit. Even progressive anti-Zionist or non-Zionist Jews who are like, oh, I'm a two-stater or whatever, right? Like they can still be overcome with hysteria. That's it. It's hysterical. No one is advocating to Jews in the Western world on the streets. Like, what are you talking about? It's just because it's a scary Muslim word. That's it. It's because it's a scary Arabic word and its association is with Islam. It's the same principle behind jihad. The word jihad is the same principle behind intifada, scary, ooh. It's the same principle behind when Arab Christians say Allahu Akbar or like God is great, God is the greatest, okay? They don't understand that. They go, ooh, this is, I've seen this in television, in movies. When they say that, that means that they're going to explode themselves. Yeah, exactly. It's not Muslims who say Jews will not replace us, okay? It's Nazis who say that, and they hate Muslims too. Sometimes more than they hate Jews, and sometimes less than they hate Jews, or at least they'll take a sidestep and make it seem like they're pro-Palestine for a brief moment just so they can shit on Jews, but they don't like Muslims either.
He was clarifying that he never said globalize the intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the intifada. And then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to, but that he was never out there saying globalize the intifada. He was asked about other people who used it. So just to be precise about what happened there. Yes?
Well, as a leader of a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it. And that's it. Period. And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up. And that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had, certainly since October 6th.
Dude. Cloud District, the question you asked me, remember when you said like, oh, well, some Jewish people, even progressive Jews, are like afraid of the word. Can you not understand? How can you not understand that this is an anti-genocidal, anti-apartheid slogan, and these motherfuckers either are sincerely or insincerely policing the language, an emancipatory slogan. This is like the most permissible thing you can say, okay? This is the most permissible thing you can do. It is not only First Amendment protected speech, but beyond that, it's not even like an immediate like demand for an immediate call to violence anyway. The word is only tied to Western Jews by virtue of their ties to Israel as a Jewish state. Anti-Zionists understand the intifadas were uprisings against the regional conflict and occupation / apartheid imposed upon Palestinians by the settler colonial state of Israel. It's ridiculous, and it's no different as I had this conversation with my former podcast co-host, who is also a racist, rabid Islamophobic piece of shit now, and I guess he was back then as well, but I didn't realize it. This is no different than white Christian guys who are racist being like, well, when people say Black Lives Matter, it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like you're saying white lives don't matter. Okay, well, you're going to have to put up with that. That's my assessment of this as well. The idea that like there is a genocide happening and that we have to literally factor in the feelings of people who are in support of that genocide and other people who have been whipped up into a frenzied panic by other people who are, again, in support of this genocide is not in consideration at all. And the only reason why we're having this back and forth is twofold. One, because Jews are a marginalized demographic, okay? Anti-Semitism is real. That's a real thing that happens. Okay. And a lot of people are cynically using this real point of marginalization as a weapon against any sort of emancipatory slogan that demands an end to this bloodshed. Okay. And the other reason why we're even having this conversation at all is because nobody gives a about Muslims. This is seen as like a Muslim issue. This is not seen as an issue of humanity and inhumanity, but instead this is just like a Muslim thing. So nobody cares. Yeah, Zohran is receiving actual threats against his life, but Democrats would rather make fake accusations of racism and anti-Semitism than defend him. The entire media landscape on the right, and even some Democrats, are actively talking about how, Zohran is a scary Muslim. He's a scary Musliman. Is there a point that it's appropriate to police speech? Like, I personally think globalized intifada is a perfectly acceptable, but something like go back to Poland is racist, and people shouldn't say that. I don't know if that's inconsistent. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Yes, in a massive movement, there's gonna be people that say, like in the Black Lives Matter rallies, I'm sure there were plenty of people who were saying, things about white people or things about cops that you might not agree with. That doesn't take away from the overall message. The overall message is not about killing cops and killing white people in the streets. The overall message for Black Lives Matter was about police brutality disproportionately targeting black communities and black people. Okay? Yeah, I was pro-civil rights movement until I found out that there was one guy at one of the marches that killed Whitey. Now I'm not so sure. Exactly.
It's October 7th. It is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt
Yeah, I think what was his thing? From the root of the sea, one person, one vote.
safe. It is why Jewish students have felt that their schools did not have their backs and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended. But when you hear things like intifada, when you hear things like jihad.
Also, Kristen Gillibrand is not like an honest actor here. She is an AIPAC attack dog. So suck me if you ever take her seriously. Okay.
When you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel. Period. It's how it's received. And if you talk to any group, you talk to our LGBTQ community, you talk to our black community, you talk to our Hispanic community, there are words and there are imagery and there are things that are said that they will hear it.
She's like about to cry. Bro, this is also unironically, where did the jihad thing even come from? He never even said that ever. I know she made that up and then got mad about this made up thing. Like, there is never a moment where someone unironically uses jihad. Okay? Like in a sincere way, unless they're Arab and speaking Arabic and talking about their own personal struggle or something. Okay? Like, there's no world where someone says like jihad to imply the thing that like ISIS is doing, right? Like when I say it's white boy summer of jihad, I'm making a joke about the hysterics that are coming from racist ass right wingers. Okay.
And feel it as a dagger to their throat. And so if you want to be a leader, you have to recognize how these things are felt and received, and saying there should be no word police is irresponsible, because as a leader, you have to protect everyone, period.
One more thing before you go. For you as a member of...
I cannot believe this unimaginable David Duke level racism coming from a supposedly progressive Democratic senator from New York who had a direct phone conversation with Zohran Mamdani, by the way. Now that we saw Kirsten Gillibrand, again, a supposedly progressive New York senator, let's hear from Representative Andy Ogles from Tennessee's 5th Congressional District, a psychopathic right-wing Republican. With the congressional letterhead, mind you. Dear Attorney General Bondi, I write to request that the Department of Justice open an investigation into whether Zohran Kwame Mamdani, currently a candidate for mayor of New York City, should be subject to denaturalization proceedings under 8 U.S.C. 1451A on the grounds that he may have procured U.S. citizenship through willful misrepresentation or concealment of material support for terrorism. According to public reports, including a June 21st, 2025 New York Post article, Mr. Mamdani expressed open solidarity with individuals convicted of terrorism-related offensive prior to becoming a U.S. citizen. Specifically, he rapped, "Free the Holy Land 5, my guys." The Holy Land Foundation was convicted in 2008 for providing material support to Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization. Publicly praising the foundation's convicted leadership as "my guys" raises serious questions about whether Mamdani held affiliations or sympathies he failed to disclose during the naturalization process. While I understand that some may raise First Amendment concerns about taking legal action based on expressive conduct, such as rap lyrics, speech alone does not preclude accountability where it reasonably suggests underlying conduct relevant to eligibility for naturalization. If an individual publicly glorifies a group convicted of financing terrorism, it is entirely appropriate for federal authorities to inquire whether that individual engaged in non-public forms such as organizational affiliation and fundraising or advocacy that would have required disclosure on Form N-400 or during a naturalization interview. Moreover, Mr. Mamdani has recently refused opportunities to reject the pro-terrorist rallying cry to globalize the Intifada, a call to expand violent attacks on civilians to the United States and around the world. While political speech in isolation is not dispositive, in light of earlier expressions of admiration for individuals convicted of supporting terrorism, a troubling pattern emerges that warrants formal scrutiny. The naturalization process depends on the good faith disclosure of any affiliation with or support for groups that threaten U.S. national security. This literally happened to Ilhan Omar. Okay? They did this to Ilhan Omar. I remember, because I was one of the lone voices that was defending Ilhan Omar at the time, alongside maybe like 4 or 5 congressional congresspersons at the time. The Democrats themselves also attacked Ilhan Omar. It's the same exact route. This person is Muslim. We have to find a way to pack them up. The naturalization process depends on the good faith disclosure of any affiliation or support for groups that threaten U.S. national security. If Mr. Mamdani concealed relevant associations, that concealment may constitute a material misrepresentation sufficient to support denaturalization under federal law. The federal government must uphold public trust by ensuring that citizenship is not granted under false pretenses. I respectfully urge the Department of Justice to determine whether Mr. Mamdani's conduct prior to naturalization warrants formal review under applicable law. This is the congressional letterhead. This is the real sentiment behind it. Zohran Little Mohammed Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I'm calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. Attaches my letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. He just tweeted a new racist thing. Oh, he just said, deport Little Mohammed. This is Nazi. And if the Democrats don't hold their nose and refuse to entertain AIPAC money for a brief moment and do the right thing, they have to literally immediately get together and support Zohran Mamdani against these insanely Islamophobic attacks that he is receiving. This is a real danger. Don't say Dems do the right thing, lol. Okay? They have to. Chatters are saying primary them. They won't do the right thing. It doesn't matter right now, okay? Because here is a moment where someone did primary them, and look at the attacks he is receiving for the crime of primarying them. Do you not understand? I'm not saying don't primary Democrats. I want to primary this one specifically, Richie Torres, and I'm certain we will successfully unseat Richie Torres. Yes, Michael Blake could actually take him out. You have to call Kirsten Gillibrand's office and demand an apology. Especially valuable if you are a constituent. Don't say anything crazy. Don't say anything up. Don't say anything that will obviously sully the righteous cause that you have. Tell them that you heard the incredibly racist things that she said about a progressive New York politician after having a conversation with him even, and that as a constituent, you find that to be completely unacceptable and that she has to apologize and defend this progressive New York politician at a time when this progressive New York politician is receiving an unprecedented wave of racist attacks. He's already receiving Islamophobic death threats. For a New York senator to come out in opposition and use the same vicious Islamophobic smears against him is completely unacceptable. This was the best. This was another incredible take. No, Mamdani won't enact a single anti-Jewish measure, but I don't even know that those would. I don't even know what those would be. But that's not the point. The point is that 400,000 of my neighbors don't care that he makes Jews feel unsafe. That's the real tragedy here. It's like the Ayup Lovely tweet. It's like time for the daily dose of Jewish feelings. Like, what are we doing here, man? What do you mean? You're literally openly admitting that he's not constituting a threat, but the very fact that you feel he might should be heard? Like, what are you talking about? Lamau, we are in no danger, but we're really mad that you won't pretend we are. Do you not feel ashamed?
The amount of grotesque Islamophobia and racism coming from all corners when it comes to Zohran Mamdani's win. And the amount of hate And it just, I've honestly never seen anything like it this openly, okay? Lawmakers are retweeting shit calling him a parasite. They're nonstop 9/11 tweets. Like, it's insane. And the Republicans are so openly racist about it. Like, not even hiding it, full Klan member, like not even pretending at all that they are not open fucking bigots, open racist, okay? But then you have Democrats, silent, nothing. Where's Jonathan Greenblatt now? Where's all the anti-hate people? Where are all the Democrats that love to weaponize identity politics? Where are you guys at? I never want to hear you hoes in the Democratic Party weaponize identity politics again. And I know you will, because it's the only thing that you really have going for you. But if there was ever a time to actually speak out because somebody's identity is under relentless attack, it would be now, and none of you are saying anything. None of you have condemned the disgusting attacks on Zohran. None of you have come out and been like, this is unacceptable. I'm not seeing people call for resignations. Imagine if somebody was talking this way about a Jewish person. Imagine if Brad Lander, who is Jewish, had won the primary and people were coming out and saying that it was the end of New York City. It was the end of Western civilization because now we have a parasite in charge. Can you imagine? It would never happen because heads would roll, careers would be over, and rightfully so. The right wing is way too comfortable with being open white supremacists and open white nationalists, and I'm honestly a little bit shocked, but nonetheless, so disgusted at the way that the liberals, the liberal establishment, the liberal ruling class, the Democratic Party, the way that they are just ignoring this, the way that they are not coming out and speaking out against this and even condemning it. Like, again, if this had been any other demographic, if they were saying this about a black person who had won, or even a gay person who...
What's crazy about this, for the record, what's crazy about this is that Zohran's position, that is the reason why so many people are freaking out over it, is the position of the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters. It's 80%. It's also the position of many Jews that are also Democratic voters. Many Jews who voted for Zohran directly. So these guys are trying to whip up a frenzy and a controversy over a deeply unpopular position, not realizing the secondary impact of this. Americans are broadly self-interested people. I'm willing to bet that a big part of the resentment towards Israel for a lot of Americans doesn't just come from the fact that we're giving all of our tax dollars to these guys and they just behave so arrogantly, but also from the fact that they see this kind of stuff and they go, what is this? Like, I can't say it's ridiculous that Israel gets to kill like children on a daily basis without a bunch of people figuring out where I work and trying to fire me, or a bunch of people coming in and trying to deplatform me. Like, what are you talking about? This censorship regime at the behest of Israel unironically breeds infinitely more resentment from Americans. Americans love free speech, okay? They love it. They love it. So when you try to take that away at the behest of a foreign country and its unjustifiable perma-violence campaign, Americans get negatively polarized towards both Israel and also Jews as well, because you're cynically using Jewish fear and Judaism as a way to drive home this point that is deeply unpopular. That's part of the reason why I absolutely will stand by Brad Lander overall and the role that he played in the primary. And I hope that there are more outspoken Jews in positions of power, in positions of prominence, that will stand up and be like, look, man, I'm Jewish. You guys are being insane. Because unfortunately, Americans don't understand, okay? If the only thing that the average non-Jewish American is hearing is that Jews are really scared about Zohran saying that, Israel shouldn't kill children, then that's the only thing that they learn. The only thing that they learn is this false association with Judaism and American Jews and Israel. 3,000 plus New Yorkers marched to Senator Gillibrand's office to demand she call for a ceasefire. As Americans, we aren't just observers in the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We are complicit. We must make it clear that New Yorkers don't stand for funding war crimes. That was in October 20th, 2023, by the way. I've been warning about this not only on the basis of humanity for Palestinians, obviously that's my primary directive here, but also on the secondary inevitability of explosive anti-Semitism due to this false conflation, due to this false association for 2 years at this point. I mean, I've been doing that far before October 7 as well, but especially post October 7. This was a part of the warnings that I had in my Oxford speech as well. When people run around and say, no, I'm a Jew and I'm scared and I love Israel, and all this like mean words about Israel is actually very scary, and people should stop doing it, and they should stop saying mean things about Israel because it makes me feel bad. And ironically enough, that was the false association with Islam, that ISIS was basically represented Al-Qaeda and other Salafist groups that we funded, that we armed, ironically enough, and we trained and we radicalized, ironically enough, were falsely associated with the entirety of the religion. So it's additionally shocking to me to watch American Jews do that to themselves, thinking that this is going to be a position that is defensible at a time when there's unprecedented enmity for obvious reasons against Israel.
Who had won. There would be calls for resignations. There would be outrage. But they are going out balls to the wall saying the most heinous shit you've ever heard about Zohran, and the Democrats are nowhere to be found. This is like, I hate the word microaggression because I feel like it's just so cringe and people overuse it all the time, just like when someone says something they don't like. But man, if this is how it actually works. Republicans are like open Klan members, like open white supremacists saying just the most heinous shit, talking about how it's the end of the West. And then you have Democrats letting it slide, ignoring it, silently okaying it, and doing microaggressive racism. Like, but Zohran, are Jews gonna feel safe with you in charge? I've seen even some so-called liberals being like, are we gonna have Sharia law? People like Charlie Kirk and Marjorie Taylor Greene are literally retweeting photos of the Statue of Liberty in a burqa. Honestly, I shouldn't be shocked. I know that people are Islamophobic and racist. I guess where I'm just like a little surprised is that Democrats make it their brand to be like, we love diversity and we celebrate different identities and we pay attention to microaggressions and we're anti-racist and blah, 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 blah. But then when it comes to one of the most vicious, racist, Islamophobic smear campaigns I have ever seen in public life, they've greenlit it. They've greenlit it. They're not even condemning it, which would be the bare minimum. This is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. At the very least, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and other leaders in the party need to come out and forcefully condemn it instead of just ignoring it or kind of low-key greenlight and agreeing with it. I, for one, though, am never going to let you get away with doing your little identity politics tap dance, though. I know you're going to try to do it in 2026, and I know you're going to try to do it in 2028. But some of us are going to remember, and we're going to remember that Gavin Newsom went on the white nationalist Charlie Kirk podcast and sat there and glazed him and told him about how his son loves his podcast. And Charlie Kirk has been one of the most openly Islamophobic, bigoted, vicious racists that we have seen be that open about it in probably the last 20 years. So, and Democrats had nothing to say about it. Liberals had nothing to say about it. I didn't see any of you condemning Gavin Newsom. So when you guys try to go refuel that, the gas is going to be empty.
It actually boggles my mind that unironically Democrats would join in on this. Like, yes, my expectation from Democrats is to maybe stand on the side and be quiet or something, you know what I mean? And cynically not say anything. But the fact that they would also take on the mantle and try to hit that same angle themselves using the same terminology as Marjorie Taylor Greene, me, dude.